Hi, and welcome to Global Student Voices, the podcast that brings you exciting stories and invaluable insights from students, educators, and thought leaders around the world. I'm your host, Coach Martin, with 30 years of experience in international education. Join us each time when we navigate the exciting journey between international secondary school and university. Let's get started.
Howdy,
Well, again,
Scott.
welcome. Hi, Rhyse. It's good to see you.
Yeah, I don't get to say that
Welcome.
here in Lebanon, so I'm glad I get to say it today.
Yes, I am too. And it's been way too long since we've caught up
Yeah,
in extents. We did talk last week
decades
about
maybe.
doing the show,
Yeah,
but we don't get to just chat that often. So,
yeah,
for
yeah.
those who are tuning in who don't know, Rhyse is an author and a former global student. She's a many cultured, multicultural, richly cultured person who I have had the privilege of knowing for really a long time. Now that I'm getting old,
And me
it's
too.
hard to believe that I've known you as long as we have,
Mhm.
but it's pretty awesome. So I'm
Yeah,
really excited that you're on, um,
I'm excited too, but
and
nervous as
I
well.
hope that yeah. Yeah, me too. And it's kind of weird. Doing a podcast is new for me, so if you're just tuning in, this is I've only recorded a handful of shows, so please give us grace as we navigate this new medium. But I wanted the people who are listening to me, I wanted them to get to meet you, Rhyse. I think you're pretty awesome, and I love to hear what you're doing. So give us just a real quick, those who don't know you, tell us a little bit about your history, kind of growing up, and then lead us up to at least where we met and maybe beyond.
Okay, so I am, as Scott said, a multicultural. I'm what you call a fourth culture individual, and you might not be familiar with that term. I think some of you may know what a third culture kid is. So, a fourth culture individual is just one more culture on top of the three cultures that a third culture kid has grown up in. So, that's basically the basic definition, I suppose. And that basically means I have not just lived in the countries that I have stayed in, but I grew up in all of those countries. So all the cultures of those four countries make up who I am as a person. And so that makes me
Yeah. So what?
not confused, but
Yeah. What are
makes me
those?
a chameleon.
It,
The four
yeah.
country in
Yes, the
order,
chameleon.
in
And
order, of course,
yeah.
yeah. Of course, my native Philippines, and I left the Philippines when I was 10. Then we moved to Cyprus. We've only lived in Cyprus for almost a couple of years, but Cyprus was my happy place. It was the best place that I've lived in. It was where I was
Mm.
the happiest. So I remember it very vividly. Then we came to Lebanon, which is the country that I've lived in the longest. And then I went to university in the US and I did my master's there as well. Then I came back to Lebanon, and then here's where I am right now in Lebanon, in this room. Yeah. And then I'm an author. Yeah, I'm an author, as Scott said. I'm an editor as well. Before I came to Lebanon, I was working as assistant editor of the Church of God flagship magazine, which is One Voice, which has folded by now. So yeah, and now I'm currently in the final editing phase of my two books, which I hope to be delivered to me finally because everybody else has it except me, unfortunately. And yeah, so that's the latest project.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And there'll be links wherever you find the podcast in the description. There'll be links to Rhyse's book. So as you fall in love with Rhyse and her
Yeah,
stories, you'll be able to just go directly and pick up a copy, either a printed version, which gets you the amazing illustrations,
yeah,
which
by my brother.
are
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, your brother's extremely talented, which we've always
yeah,
known.
he is. He
If
is.
you
He
go to
is.
my website and see the logo for Global Student Solutions, that's Rhyse Furio's also. So your brother
Yeah,
Rurik designed that, and that's been around. That logo's been around 20 years and still holds up. It's still amazing.
yeah.
Um,
And I forgot to
and
mention
so
as
the
well that.
illustrations and
Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I forgot to mention as well that I am a journalist here. I'm a news correspondent here in Lebanon. That's the way I make a living. But it's not my passion. My passion is writing books. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, as a news correspondent, you're in an exciting place to do that type of work.
Yeah.
How would you describe, because I don't know, I kind of want to know about that side. I know that's not your passion, but it's also really interesting to me. So tell
Yeah.
me a little bit about your reporting side.
Okay. So the job sort of fell on my lap because I was, in Lebanon. I'm not a native of Lebanon. I need a residence visa, and so for me to be able to work here, I would need a work visa. And I did work once, but I did not like the job, so I quit it after 3 months. I called that my probationary period. I said probationary period. I did not enjoy it. End of story. So I was lying in bed. I was like, Lord, what job should I do now? And suddenly somebody calls me and says, Reese, didn't you do some journalism classes in university? I said, I did a few, not very much, but I did a few. I know how to write news. He said, could you write news for the Filipino community wanting to do a rally against the Philippine embassy? Because at that time, the Philippine embassy was banning all Filipinos from going back home for the holidays because there were a lot of illegal Filipinos coming into Lebanon. So even the legal Filipinos were affected. And they were
Oh,
like, that's not fair. That's not fair. We should be able to go back and see our families, right? And so they said, we want you to do. And they didn't know anybody else, any other person here in Lebanon who could speak both fluent Filipino and English. And so my friend said, that's you, take the job, report on it. I said, okay. I said, I'm
yeah,
only going to do it once because I know how messy the news industry can get. You get bashed if they don't like the news,
yeah,
right? So I said, I'm only going to do it once. And
right.
so when I did the news, people were like, wow, we have a news reporter. We're going to take a picture with her. And then people were flocking toward me and like people were telling me about their domestic problems with their employers. I'm like, oh no, I can't get out of this job. I'm stuck in this job because how can the only person they can go to? How can I say no? If
Yeah,
they're reporting that they're being abused by
right.
their employers, I have to do the news. I'm like, okay, I guess this is a job, Lord. I guess you gave me a job, and so that's how the job came to me. And so I only report for the Filipino community here. Anything that's newsworthy, I report on. I'm a one woman team. I do the camera work, do the interviews, then I send all the pieces. I do the script as well. I send all the pieces back to the Philippines. They edit it, they send it back to me. I voice it, I send it back to them, and it goes on our website, YouTube, and our all, other social media. So yeah, that's how it works.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's very cool,
it's, yeah,
and it
it's
is
pretty
such
cool.
an important for a community um, that's disparate. So a community that's away from their like power
Yeah,
base, to be
and
in some place like Lebanon to be able to have a voice is so important.
yeah, and we have never really had a news correspondent in Lebanon because the news station I work for has correspondents in different countries in the Middle East. They have several correspondents. I'm the only one in Lebanon because it's rare to find a Filipino here who knows English fluently as well and who can write, And well, actually, I could not write
Yeah,
Filipino very well. At the beginning, I was like, Google Translate, Google Translate. I kept going to my mom, what's the translate? Because I knew how to write news in English very well, but then I didn't know how to translate it to
yeah,
my language because, news reporting uses a certain type of language. It's kind of formal language, right? And I
sure,
did not go to high school in the Philippines, so I had never learned formal Filipino. So I'm like, oh no, now I'm gonna harass you, ma. What's the word for this? What's the word for that? And Google Translate isn't always accurate. So anyhow, I managed,
right.
and by now I have collected a bit more vocabulary. Yeah, yeah. It was a challenge at
Yeah, that's
first,
amazing.
but yeah.
Yeah, in my head, I'm thinking of the 8-year-old or the 10-year-old Reese who, when she left Philippines,
Mhm.
as the other half of your correspondent duo. The English Reese, who's this mature, sophisticated woman, and
Oh
the
no.
10-year-old Reese that's doing the translation into Tagalog or to the Philippines.
Yeah, it was pretty much a challenge. It was a challenge, yeah. But then over time, I grew to
Yeah,
enjoy it. And they were correcting me.
good,
They were saying like,
good,
Reese, you
and
don't
that
pronounce it that way. You don't pronounce that word that way. I'm like, oops, you know.
right, and in the I won't say how many years it's been since you left the Philippines, but it's been
Mm,
a few years, and language changes and evolves. And so
yeah,
the
it
number of
does.
years that you've been
There are
away,
yeah, there are a few terms now that I said I've never heard that word when I was young. It's a new term.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, language is fluid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, I really want to talk about your books because I
Mm,
think I mean, my target audience for this show is people in and around the international school communities, and so they're
mm,
all third culture, fourth culture,
It's
multicultural
amazing. It's amazing.
students and families. And I think that you've written a couple amazing novels for. Well, tell me who you envision as your audience for your work.
Well, mainly because I'm publishing on Amazon, so I guess my main readership is are American people, whom most of them are reading like cowboy stories or prairie stories or Amish stories. The typical American fare, in other words. And I wanted to
Sure.
because I knew that that would be the audience that I would have mostly on Amazon. I wanted to kind of expose them. Sorry, that's my alarm. Expose them to the world around them. You know, and you write who you are, right? And I'm a multicultural, so I did not intend this, but my multiculturalism got poured onto the pages of my book without me really intending it too. So I was writing about my multicultural experiences, like places I've been to and even places I've not been to but want to travel to. And um, the character is a Scottish rugby player, and he became a Scottish rugby player because the only foreign person I had who was willing to help me out was the Scottish guy. I wanted him to be an Irish person, but my Irish friend, I guess she was too busy to help me out. So my Scottish friend, apparently Scottish people are very patriotic, so he was more than willing to share me everything that he knew about his culture and all the idioms, the
That's
cultural
awesome.
quirks, and so he was like sharing with me. And then the rugby came. I know soccer more than I know rugby. I did not know squat about rugby. I did not even know the shape of the ball. I did not know the shape of the ball. I had to ask, what's the shape of the ball? And he said it's an oval ball, oval ball like an American football. All I knew was that it's spelled RUGBY. That's all I knew. And so it was Ray Lindo, who was also very passionate about his sport, and he was more than willing to share about rugby with me. He was very patient with me, and so that's how he became my main character became a Scottish rugby player because these were the two people who were willing to help me out the most. And the female protagonist is a Filipino
That's
because,
awesome.
yeah, the female protagonist is a Filipino because I did not want to have to harass another foreign friend. So I said, let's just make a character whose culture I knew about, to make it easy for other people around me. So that's it. And they, get to travel around the world and visit cool places like Iceland and where else? The Rainbow Mountains of China, which I don't know if you've heard about it. Is pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it sounds amazing.
Rainbow Mountains, they are mountains that are literally, I mean, they have straight lines of color over and across them. And the reason is because the minerals from underneath, when the mountains were formed, the minerals rose to the surface and formed these colors. And they're straight lines. And if you see the pictures on Google, you will
That's
think
so
they're
cool.
you will think they're paintings, but they're not. They're real. And before you get to the Rainbow Mountains, you get
Wow.
to you if you choose to, you can paraglide over the Great Wall. So I think I would make that a vacation one day. That's on my bucket list.
No kidding.
Yeah. And Iceland, I don't know if you saw the Northern Lights over London. Like so
I did not.
that was
I slept through it. Very embarrassing.
yeah, okay. You
Yeah.
should check it out online because apparently
Yeah.
the Northern Lights will be strong from this year to 2026, and they will peak next year. So I am on my bucket list now, and I
Okay.
hope it's kind of a pipe dream, but I'm praying to the Lord, Lord, let me spend Christmas in Iceland next year, because Iceland is also an amazing country.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. So it has
Yeah.
all
My
these.
uncle did some economic, yeah, he did some economic development work in Iceland. He said it shocked him how amazing and
Yeah, it
beautiful
is
and
like
just, it was not
class
like he
of
had
just
nothing
class
in his
of
brain that could,
yeah. Yeah. It's like you can travel between the lava tunnels and the ice caves just within hours. You have all these amazing landscapes within hours of each other. And apparently they also have the
yeah,
healthiest food and they have a lot of geothermal spas. people, the Icelanders take a bath in spas as if they're taking a bath in their bathtub, and they have a lot of waterfalls as well. So it's an amazing country, and the country grows 2 inches every year. It grows 2 inches every year because it's on top of two
Wow.
tectonic plates. So when magma pours, out of the rift between the two plates, it pushes and cools. It pushes the two plates outward 2 inches. So that makes the country grow, you know. And since it's on top of the tectonic plates, it also moves. So Iceland is a very weird country. I don't know, but it's fascinating.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
yeah,
So by reading, I mean, obviously these are fiction books and they're
yeah.
romance stories. Would that be the correct
I did
classification?
not intend for them to start out as a romance. People started labeling them a romance, but it's a family
Okay.
story. And basically, the
Okay.
premise is that if you put the Lord in the center of your marriage and families, they will be blessed. Because here in Lebanon, there are a lot of Filipinos coming here who come from broken families back in the Philippines, and they're here exactly because their
Mm,
families back in the Philippines are broken. So I'm seeing that, and I'm thinking to myself, if only they would put the Lord first, their families would be blessed. So the story starts with a
mm,
character, the Scottish rugby character, whose parents are about to get a divorce, and then it builds on, and later on, he forms a family that is blessed because God is at the center of it. So it, of course,
wonderful.
before you form a family, you have to have a romance between the parents. So that's why the people are like, "Yes, it's not a romance, it's a family story." I would call it a multicultural family story. That's the accurate
Yeah,
description of it. But people were like, "It's a romance." No, it's not. It's just because before you have a family, you need to have a romance between the parents, ideally.
that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Yes, and maybe even continuing on throughout their
yeah,
marriage.
yeah. Yeah,
Well,
that's
that
true.
is
That's true.
wonderful. That's so
You would know
cool.
about that, Scott. Yeah, yeah.
Well, I've only been married for 30 some years. Well, I really don't know as much as I should, but apparently I
Yeah.
know just enough to have made it 30 some years.
Yeah, yeah, congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, Rhys, we're talking to students that are transitioning from our families in that transition from secondary school to university. And you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned Ray is this super um,
Yeah,
ambassador
it's
for
help
rugby that
speak up.
that connected. Um, and that's a connection that you made in college. And tell us a little bit about those connections and maybe how all that diversity of connections from college influenced your characters as you wrote.
Actually, there were several of the international students who helped out with the book. The Okiniya sisters helped out with the Nigerian information, the Nigerian names. Avik and Samir Pipalia helped out with information about Indian marriages. Who else helped out? Kelvin told me about Chinese mooncakes. There's a Chinese mooncake in the book, and he told me that they can now be any size and variety of fillings and all that, crusts and all that. And
That's fun.
yeah, so they have helped out as well. So they've contributed what they know about their culture to the book. And just for me, like being with the international students has been a real growing experience. I mean, I would not have known the gifts that I have and the certain personality quirks that I have if I had not hung out with them, a lot. We used to have the Pimp Plaza, and we call it, but Daria and Jill and Miriam and I had our Babe Bazaar. That's what we called it. That's the female counterpart of the Pimp Plaza, and we would not. I mean, it's kind
Yes.
of like the TV show Friends, but the multicultural version. you know, and so I would not have
Yeah.
gotten to know
So
myself, yeah, as much if I had not hung out with these amazing peoples. And since we're all from different cultures, I mean, imagine putting different cultures in one room. I mean, it's gonna be it's gonna be a blast. And we used to meet at your home
yeah,
as
I
well
mean
and play games and watch movies and eat a lot and play sports
a lot,
as
a
well.
lot. Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think Risa, and I think about, and for people who don't know about your home and Pimp Plaza, this is your place. You've got first of all just amazing women. I mean, the group that you
pretty crazy
got
women. Yeah,
together were
yeah,
pretty crazy. But you've got from Poland, you from Philippines and Lebanon,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Miriam from Kenya,
Mm-hmm.
um, and you've got people hanging out from Ghana and
Yeah,
Nigeria
and people sometimes just came
and
over to,
South
if they had nowhere
Korea.
to, yeah, if they had nowhere to sleep, they would come to our place and sleep. And now I'm a light sleeper. Sometimes people would sleep at the door, and they are heavy sleepers. Somebody would come in late at night and like ring the bell. I'm like, get up and get the door. I have to get up and get a door because I'm the only one who would wake up. Like, so I would trudge from my room, which is on the opposite side of the door, all the way to the door and open it. Yeah. So, but there were a lot of adventures.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I remember the stories. And your brother lived in the male equivalent, so where you've
Yeah.
got a guy
The
from
film.
Bulgaria, guys from
Yeah.
India,
Yeah.
um,
I mean, it's
and they're,
amazing.
I mean, yeah, and then all of you guys, if you multiply that out by not only your friends, but then also who was dating who and who was bringing boyfriends and girlfriends over,
Yeah.
and I mean, just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
whole crowd
I mean, yeah,
was
it's
just
amazing.
is
It's amazing. Yeah, and
yeah.
after
How
church
do,
service, we would also eat together, eat out together, and watch movies and all that. Yeah, and you remember, Scott, when I
yes,
first came to AU, you must remember that I was super shy. I was super shy. I was so like kind of like saucer eyed, like, where am I now? Because it was the first time I was away from my family, and I was, 17. I was 17. I think I was the youngest of the international student group that I was in, and probably one of the youngest in all of AU,
yep,
because I think Americans enter freshman at age 18, right? And I was 17. And,
most often, yep.
yeah. And so I did not know how to do my laundry, how to go to the grocery.
Hey there, GSV listeners. Before we dive back into our conversation, I wanted to take a moment to thank our incredible guests, the students, school officials, and thought leaders who inspire us with their stories and insights. As you're listening today, be thinking of ways that you can support the guests of this show. There are links in the descriptions with just some of the ways. I'm Coach Martin, your host and your partner in navigating the university journey. Whether you're exploring university options, preparing for admissions, or seeking support during your academic path, my books provide practical guidance and insights to empower your university success. Join me in individual coaching, group sessions, or courses designed to equip you for university life and beyond.
I am from Brazil, but I attended an American school in Indonesia for my secondary education. So my situation was really confusing and really scary. Coach Martin really understands global students, and he loves helping us out.
Again, thank you for listening. Explore the podcast description for links and resources and contacts discussed in today's episode. Visit www.theglobalstudentsolutions.com to learn more and embark on your journey toward university success. Now, let's return to our conversation.
So I'm used to hanging out with foreign people, but it was, I guess, the first time I was alone, and I was just not feeling, I was feeling my way around. And Buki even told me when we
Yeah.
were on our trip to Toronto, she's like, lighten up, chill, because I was so withdrawn. But it was, the programs that you put together, like the international dinner, world of music, all these international programs that maybe kind of come out of my shell, I suppose. The more that I discovered what I could contribute to
Well,
the group, the more I grew.
well,
Yeah.
let me tell you a secret you probably don't know, because I don't think I've told anyone
Oh, tell me,
this
tell me.
ever. I don't. Angie would probably be, my wife would probably be able to guess this is true, but I don't think I've told anyone. So, because there was this group of, I think there were 13 or so of you in your class, right?
Mm-hmm.
Approximately. All different countries, all different
Mm-hmm.
backgrounds, all different
Yeah.
majors.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there was no program when you guys were recruited. Like when I recruited you guys, I said, come to Anderson, we're going to have a great experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
There was no program to plug you into. Like you were kind of the first. And so
Mm-hmm.
when you say all these places that you got to plug into, I created those places for you to plug into. So
Oh.
I made it, we created the international dinner so that, and the way we did it, so that Rhyse, who's an amazing dancer, would have an audience to dance in front of. And that was controlled, where I thought you would say yes.
So that
Because
was rigged.
I would
That
want
was
you
rigged, you mean?
everything was rigged. Yes. And if I saw somebody like Rhyse was maybe shy and maybe nervous about making friends and needed a
Mhm.
soft place, then everybody come hang out at my house because Rhyse will
Mhm.
feel safe at my house and she'll
Mhm.
hang out.
And we did feel it safe.
And not just you, but for the other students too, they needed different things. I think about the Tan brothers.
Mm.
John was in your class,
Mm.
and they were these big city guys, right? I mean, they
Mm.
came out of the metropolis of
Mm.
Singapore. They
Huh?
were urban. They were just
Mm.
super cool guys. Um,
And they come to
but their
Anderson.
exposure, I know they
Yeah.
came to this small town, this small
Yeah.
school,
Mm.
and we needed to create some things that would make them feel like this was their own, like,
Mhm.
and going
Mhm.
to the movies and going out to eat at restaurants
Mhm.
is an urban thing, right? That's an
Mhm.
important thing when you're an
Yeah.
urbanite to
Yeah.
do. And so making sure that we literally ate out that first couple of years. We literally ate out every Sunday at lunch.
Yeah. Yeah. You did
I
an
mean,
amazing job, Scott. You were an
and
amazing national director, and we were glad to have you as our
well, I was
father, second
amazingly
father.
blessed.
Yeah. And
Oh,
I
you're
will
very
always
kind.
remember. I have very vivid memories of all the times we hung out at your home. And recently, I remember the time we girls got stuck in front of the traffic light without gas, and we had to wake you up and like, Scott, we don't have gas. You remember that? Yeah, I remember getting out of bed, and people were asking us like, "You need help? Do you need help?" I was telling them, "Well, you can only help if you have gas, but otherwise, thank you." And the traffic light was like going from red, yellow, green, red, yellow, green, and we were watching this traffic light just turn red, yellow, green sometimes, and we're just sitting there like sitting ducks. Anyhow, you came and rescued us. But I remember that. I remember that actually this week, just this week, I remember that adventure.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I do not remember that adventure, but that
yeah.
that
You
is
were like just
amazing. And I
sitting
think
there in
that's what
the
community
traffic rules.
does.
Yeah,
That's crazy. I think about a lot of the things that were significant for people in their college experience that I got to be a part of, like that kind of story.
yeah,
And I think what an amazing blessing it was to be there and available and to be able to be a part of those stories.
yeah.
Because I think for all of us, I came from Kenya to college, and
Mhm.
and I encountered things that I could not have anticipated that need, like whatever it was. There were just things that just I I never. Oh, I do remember one. I
What?
remember my dorm room was really hot. It was Indiana. It was in the 90 degrees. There was
Mhm.
no, back in those days, no AC in the dorm.
Mhm.
And most of the guys had fans. Like they would open the door and they would have a fan.
Yeah.
I came, when I moved to the university, I came directly from Kenya. I had one bag.
Yeah.
That's all I carried. There was no
Mhm.
fan in that bag.
Mhm.
And so I needed to buy a fan. And I had some money. I didn't have a lot, but I had a little. I could afford a fan, but
Mhm.
campus commissaries don't sell fans. Like
Mhm.
there was a
Yeah.
little shop on campus. They sold
You should
Doritos,
buy
no
those little
fans.
fans. We have them in the Philippines. The little fans that you just carry around. You know.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
this was, I'm very old, so it was probably before
Yeah.
those were
It's
even
it's a
invented.
new thing.
But
It's new technology. But yeah.
okay, that's very cool. Yeah, we've seen it. We've had them in Indonesia too. I like them.
Yeah.
Um, so just little things like that where you just like, where do you buy a fan? And I'm here. I was early on. I mean, it was probably the first week of school, and I was
Yeah.
just miserable. And
Mm.
here you've got a solution, and I didn't know how to solve it. And so I think it's those kind of experiences for me, and then the kind of experiences like you guys had that you invited
Mhm.
me into that are kind of the motivation for what I do now in trying to reach international
Yeah.
students and be that phone call, that WhatsApp. Now nobody calls me at weird times, but I'll get a WhatsApp. Like a couple of weeks ago, I got a WhatsApp from a Singapore guy that I had met that attends
Mhm.
a
Yeah.
university close by, and he's like, he has a whole 5 guys in his apartment. They're all from Singapore. They're all first year,
Mhm.
and they're just like got cabin fever in the spring. Which you
Mhm.
remember. You locked in. The weather's not that nice, and you've been
Mhm.
inside a
Yeah.
long time and studying, and the
Yeah. Yeah.
anxiety with exams and all that.
Yeah.
And he hits me on WhatsApp and he said, well, I'm just sitting here with my friends and we're thinking, what can we do? we need to do something. And everything we know is on campus, and it's a
Yeah.
spring break. It was their spring
Yeah.
break. And he said, and
Yeah.
it's spring break and there's nothing to do. Everything's closed. And so I just hit him back and I'm like, well, here's a restaurant you can go to, and what's your
Yeah.
budget, and can you travel? Do you have a car? And okay, here's the place. And so then I connected him to my son, who likes to go to like natural
Yeah.
the parks and things. And so they got together on WhatsApp and they're chatting back and forth about parks they can go to. And
Yeah.
so that's the kind of thing. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the value added.
Yeah. Speaking of restaurants, Scott, did we ever tell you? And it was Bookie's doing. We walked from Wing On all the way back to campus. We crossed the highway. We walked all the way from Wing On to AU, the AU campus. And you see this flock
Oh
of
my goodness.
foreign students. Who are these students? Like walking across the highway. I mean, we did it. Those are the kinds of
That's
crazy
awesome. That's
adventures
several.
we used to do. And there was once
Yeah.
one
And
time
how awesome for you guys to jump into it. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know. I don't know. We somehow managed it. We just kept talking and chatting and walking until we reached campus. And there was this one time I got on the tree on my front yard, and Miriam and Jill and Daria were looking up at me. How do we get Rhyse down from that tree? Because the tree was very prickly. It was not comfortable to sit on it. I got on it and I'm like, this is not comfortable. I want to get out of here. And I could not get out. And they were just staring up at me like, how do we get Rhyse out of that tree? So anyhow, it's on.
Oh, that's so funny.
The picture is actually on Facebook. I should share it with you one day.
I saw the picture.
Yeah.
I saw the picture on your Facebook. You posted it, and I remember there were comments that JL and Buki and other people were making comments, but I didn't know that story. So I was just like,
Yeah.
it was hard for me to imagine Rhyse in a tree. One, you don't seem like a tree climber, but so I enjoyed the picture for that part alone. I had no idea there's this whole other backstory that you were
I
stranded
just
up
tried
there.
something, just for fun. I don't know what got into me that day, but
That's
I wanted
awesome.
to climb a tree. I don't think there was a fruit on that tree, but I just climbed it. Yeah. And I had difficulty getting down from it.
That's so fun.
Yeah. So
I'm sure.
you at
I'm
AU
sure that didn't fit into your
profile.
that didn't fit into your dance skills. Yes, your profile.
That could
you
fit.
can dance all kinds of different kinds of dance, but
yeah, that could
the
fit.
tree
Because
dance.
dancers are pretty flexible, so I guess the flexibility could kind of fit climbing up a tree. Maybe, I don't know.
It definitely helped you get up, but I'm not sure it helped you get down.
Get down, yeah, that's true. Yeah, but I did get down because I'm now here, in front of my laptop. So
That's right.
Yeah.
You made it.
yeah,
Tell me, Rhyse, if you were to give, because there's going to be, I'm hoping that they're listening. There's going to be that shy 16, 17, 18-year-old who's about to go off to college and is either terrified or at least has a little bit of uncertainty about the decision they've made. What advice would you give that young lady about that you draw from your own experience that you think could help them in their next phase?
Well, I mean, of course, the classroom experience is important. That's why your parents put you through university, right? Because they're expecting that you will learn from in class what you need for your future career. But I think what helped me the most are the social interactions on campus. I mean, just dive into them, and discover what gifts you have that you can share with your immediate community and with the society around you. And the more you do that, the more you'll feel confident and feel confident of who you are and what gifts you can contribute. Because that's how it was with me. And by the time you graduate from university, you should have an idea of how you can face the world and impact it with your unique gifts and as the unique person that you are. So yeah, you should. I mean, basically, it was the social interactions that really helped me out. If I didn't force myself to dive into them, to join all these, I mean, they were kind of foreign activities for me. I'm like, why am I going to join that? It's uncomfortable. But I dove in and just, hung out with these people and did whatever was needed to be done. And that's how I found out that, they needed a dancer and they needed somebody to sing or to play music. And, that's how I
Yeah.
grew and got to know people as well, And so I think that in any social in any social setting, that's what you should do. You should just get into it, and yeah, kind of dip your foot at least into the water and see if you can
Yes.
swim. I don't know if that's what you would say. Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I think
and
that's
since
fantastic
I
advice.
found
And
out,
when I
and when people affirm that you're good at this or you're good at that, that makes you feel appreciated, and that makes you feel like you want to mingle more. It makes you feel more confident of yourself and more appreciated, and then you contribute more, right? And you share more. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a wonderful cycle, isn't it? Like once you start,
Yeah.
then it keeps building and in a very
Mm-hmm.
positive way. I don't when I look back at your experience in college, I don't see you as I don't think the social side overwhelmed you. I think it
Mm-hmm.
unlocked you. I think it allowed people to
Yeah.
see all the
Yeah.
amazing gifts and talents you had, and then the whole community rose up because of that. Like for
Mhm.
each person
I
that
think it
does
began with
that,
spring break.
their whole
Actually, yeah,
community
in spring break.
raises.
You remember, I sat with a luggage back in the back, and I was sitting among the luggage, and I'm like, "What am I doing here?" In the middle of the night, whatever. And then you put up all these like we were performing in front of different churches, and that's how I kind of got out of my shell little by little. I became friends with Davina, and Davina was a dancer as well. She's like, Reese, I need a partner for this dance and whatever. And so you helped pull me out of my shell as well. And then the ball got rolling and all that. Yeah.
It got rolling. And then from there, it was just all
Yeah.
sit back and
Yeah.
enjoy the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, I'm
Yeah. I grew
I'm
up at
glad to
AU,
have been a part. Yeah, I'm glad to have been a part of some of those stories, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
delighted. I'm terrible, at least you know this because of how often I reach out. I'm terrible at maintaining relationships over a long time, but I'm so
Yeah.
delighted that you're so gracious to be
Yeah.
open when I
Well, you're a
finally
busy
do
man,
reach
Scott.
out.
Everybody needs you.
And
Yeah.
oh, oh no, I don't think I'm that busy, but I also really appreciate you do a wonderful job of keeping people connected through Facebook, and social
Mm-hmm.
media. And I think your posts, well, I'll just tell you, your posts are very life-giving. And I think people looking back, and I've heard people say that looking back when Reese posted this and Reese posted that, and it's just made me feel so good. And so I think
Yeah. Well,
that's a
that's
really
sweet.
important gift that you continue to give those friends. And I'm glad that are getting something back in that they reached out to you as you were writing, and you've been able to capture some of them in your stories. And I think that's also really beautiful.
Yeah, my experiences at AU are really very blessed. They blessed me a lot, getting to know all of you. Yeah, and they made me grow up. By the time I got out of AU, I would not call myself shy. Maybe a little bit more verbose,
Right.
I don't know. But anyhow, I really, those were the days. Those were the days. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I thank you
And I
for
don't
those,
think
Scott.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm just delighted to be a part of it. I don't think you changed your personality. I think you unlocked, um, and were able to get the most out of your personality. And I think that was just, I mean, that was
Mhm.
just, it's like a butterfly. You came in a cocoon and were able
Yeah.
to break
I
out,
think
and
it's
we
more
all got to
like
see it.
I discovered who I was. I mean, it was always there. It's
Yeah.
just I wasn't able to express it because I was so shy. And then once, I became comfortable interacting with my international peers, then it came out, I guess. And I'm the sort of person, I don't
Yeah.
warm up easily to people or situations. You need to kind of, put me on a stove or something, put me in the microwave for me to warm up. Yeah, or maybe like
Well, I'm
popcorn.
glad that
You
you
need to
you
put me
were
in a
willing.
popcorn maker or something.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's good.
and
That's a
then it
great
will.
illustration.
Yeah, yeah.
So back to your book, just real briefly, because I do want respect your time, but you've got two editions that are available on Amazon right now, correct?
Two, two,
Two
the
different
first one is
stories.
the book one. The second one is the sequel of the first one. Yeah, it's a
Okay.
continuation of the story of the
And
first one. Yeah,
wonderful. And are there
and
more
they're
to come?
available. I mean, as long as you go to Amazon, you can purchase. There's an ebook, a paperback, and a hardcover. Those are three
Okay.
versions of the book, and they're all available on Amazon. So you just choose which one you want, and you're on it, Scott. You're on the
Yeah. And
acknowledgements page,
I
and several
am?
international students on the acknowledgements page as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
Rhyse, you're very
And
sweet.
once in a while, I
Well,
do make the ebook free, so I will let you know when it's free, and you can just grab it from Amazon. And yeah,
we should all pay for it when it's cost something, because then you get something for it.
yeah. Thank you.
So
I mean,
are
we
there more
writers always
stories?
appreciate it when our books are, but
Yes. Yeah, I know. Are there more stories to come? Do you have plans to write more?
I do have one percolating. I mean, I was actually a one that I had written before this one. This one just came out of it came out of my daydreams, and I saw on my laptop, wow, it's more than 150 pages. I can actually publish this. And at that time, Erin Pickering Gutierrez who is from Anderson as well. She's like, Reese, and she knows that she thinks I write well. So she says, Reese, do you know that Amazon now publishes for free? I'm like, really? Well, I do have this 150 pages, so maybe it's time for them to get published. So that's how the books came about. But I had written something else intentionally before these two books are now on Amazon. Yeah. So but I will take a break first before I publish that one. I need a break. So, but that one's gonna be big.
Very good.
It's gonna be it's a saga. So it's a fantasy saga,
Oh,
so it will be bigger, I think, than these books, and will need a lot more imagination and research. So I need a break first
well,
before I tackle that one.
okay,
Yeah.
so people need to go out and buy this book and share it. And if they want to, I'm putting you on the spot here. I'm sorry about that, Rhyse. If they want to reach out to you, like to have you speak to their book club or speak to their internet, I think every international school should have you virtually on stage, inspiring their young ladies. So how would they reach you? Can we put something in the contacts? Okay, we'll put something in the
They can
about.
reach me on Facebook or my email.
Okay,
How do you want me to give it to you,
okay.
Scott?
We'll talk
Yeah.
off air, and we'll put the best way to contact you will be in the description, and so people can reach out to Rhyse and buy her books, pay her to speak at your events. She's amazing person with an amazing story,
Yeah.
and I'm so glad that you were willing to be on Global Student Voices and share
Thank you for the
your voice.
invitation, Scott, for the opportunity. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Rhyse.
This was fun. Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning into Global Student Voices. We're committed to bringing you the best advice and to share stories from global students and educators. We need your help. Make sure you subscribe, share, rate, and review our podcast. Follow us on social media for more updates, and we'll see you next time. Until then, stay curious and keep exploring.